And I guess the last thing is, hello, David. Nice to see you.
G'day, Peter. Hello, everybody.
How you
And
doing, David?
Hi, David.
Dr. Scott Fox, nice to see you on your morning walk. Can you hear us?
Yes, I practice what I preach.
Yeah, good on you, my mate. Good on you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Oh, my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I'm looking forward to hearing any questions that you have in terms of your conversations with people. Well, I'm just sharing a couple of things to get started with here. And one of them, this is something it'll probably challenge David more than anything else. I don't know. Let's see how we go here, right? But one of the things is this. When I first started in sales 150 years ago, whenever it was, I was always told about the know, like, and trust factor. I was always in a situation where if people don't know you and like you, then how in the hell can they ever become a customer of yours, right? And what I'm suggesting is that you should stop trying to build relationships with your prospects. Okay? What you should do, rather than trying to build rapport, rather than trying to make them like you, because most of them think, what's he want? What's he really after when you're doing things like this, right? Okay. So you should be instead building deep trust with your prospects. And the way to build deep trust with your prospects is to show genuine interest and be present with them all the way. Okay. I have a real issue with people who try to build rapport first. Okay, because it doesn't work. It actually doesn't work. And that's why most people, I mean, for example, if I walked into you, Scotty, okay, you say, hey, Scott, how you doing? Wow, I like your hat. I'm glad you're barring for the Broncos. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I find something common ground for us to talk about. And you don't know me very well. What's going through your head, Scott? When I'm doing that to you, what's going through your head?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what your agenda is, I suppose.
Correct. Correct. Why in the hell? What's going on here, right? And you become a little bit defensive, okay, in doing that. All right. And I know that John is very familiar with this, but I want to share this with you, and it's extremely important because for every single one of us, and then I'll get to some questions from you all. For every single one of us, these are the things that are in people's minds when you're having any form of conversation with them. And by the way, I didn't say sales conversation, I said conversation, right? The first thing is, do I trust you? The second thing is, do I trust you enough to open up and share with you what in the heck my problem is in the first place? Right? That's a big jump because people will find it very difficult to share what's truly important to them, what's worrying them, if they don't trust you in any way, shape, or form. All right? At the same time, the third question is this. If I trust you enough to open up to you, do I trust you enough to help me solve my problem? Now, that raises another issue. They may not even know what their darn problem is. Okay? They may think they know. Or they may think things aren't going as well as I hoped. Maybe it's because I haven't got enough people to talk to. Maybe I've got people to talk to, but I can't convert them into potential clients for me. Maybe, all these things, right? The next thing is this. One, do I trust you? Two, do I trust you enough to open up and share the truth with me? Three, do I trust you enough to not only open up and share what is truthful to me, but that you would actually solve my problem. Do I trust you enough to do that? Next, very critical. Hey, Bill, nice to see you. Next, very critical, and that is, do I really want to do this? Right? Do I really want to do this? What he's talking about? Next one, can I do this? And finally, if I'm talking to someone like David or Scott or John or Bill, and all these things, I'll think, well, that's all well and good, but will he or she be with me every step of the way to help me solve the problem? They are 5 questions or thoughts that are in everybody's mind, before you even open your mouth. And if you don't answer that, and by the way, they don't tell you those questions, right? They will not tell you those questions, but they're sitting there. They're actually sitting there, and you need to be able to answer them, or you will not get a client. So with that in mind, that's enough of my little ranting and raving to get the conversation started. Who would like to ask a question about any example they've had? Just explain what the situation is, what was the conversation, and and what happened. And I'm looking at examples of how you had conversations with people, but it didn't work. For some reason, you didn't get any further with the person. Or they said, thank you very much, I'll get back to you, which means see you later, right? So over to you. Who would like to talk? Who has a question? It's an open agenda. I don't want to sit here and do all the talking I want you to do.
All right, I'll jump in.
Please, David, you jump in.
Maybe a 2-part question, Peter.
Okay. Give me the background to it so we can all understand what's going on.
You're probably aware that a lot of coaches are now running what are called challenges.
Yes.
Which is essentially a free experience of working with the coach. It's been done on a group basis for several years, I think. People like Tony Robbins and others of that ilk are running these experiences. And usually at the back end of that experience, they make the offer. Now, the coach I'm working with here has trademarked what he calls a tiny challenge, which is a one-on-one experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the idea behind it is results in advanced marketing. So you work with the person, and the model that this guy has come up with is 5 sessions of coaching, usually done over a week. And you pre-frame the offer in the first session. You say to the person, if you like what you experience here over the next 5 sessions, would it be okay if I asked you for a testimonial? Would it be okay if I asked you for some referrals? And would it be okay if I talked to you about how it would be to work with me on an ongoing basis?
Is this right up front?
This is right up front. It's a pre-frame. Okay. The idea behind that is that you get the elephant in the room out of the way. What you mentioned is, I think Scott mentioned it, what's the agenda here? Okay, the agenda is obviously to eventually talk to them about working with you on a paid basis. So you then get to the end of the session, and the question that I would ask is, please tell me how this experience has been for you. And on the basis that they say it's been good, you've helped me, I would then say to them, well, thank you very much. It's good to know. As you may recall, in our first session, I asked you if it would be okay for you to give me a testimonial. Would you be prepared to do that? And they usually say yes. And you will say then, I asked you if you would perhaps consider giving me a couple of referrals. Do you know anybody that might like to have this sort of experience? That doesn't always produce an answer. And then the third element is to ask, you may recall that I asked if it would be okay if I talked to you about how it would be to work with me on an ongoing basis. And that's where we make the offer and talk to them about the paid service. Now, I've been doing that for several people that I've been running these challenges for. Nobody's bought from me. A key reason, I think, is that the people I've been talking to are not in a position to afford my service. Some of them have pre-framed me in the sense of saying, when I've asked them in that very first session, they've told me that they don't have the money. So I guess the two-part question is, firstly, what do you think of this idea of challenges, results in advanced marketing, to build the trust factor that you're talking about?
Okay, let's go one step at a time here. Okay, conceptually, running a challenge is purely and simply to enable the people who attend the challenge to actually learn to respect and understand and appreciate you. Okay, that's the purpose of the challenge. There will be an educational factor in it, but really what it is you're putting yourself out there to become more visible with people, and so they can see whether you are the type of person they feel comfortable in talking with and spending time with. That's what a challenge is all about. There's no other purpose for it. I mean, Bill, let me refer to you. You're about to start a challenge, right? Okay.
Correct.
The purpose of the challenge in your mind is what?
To give them an experience and to actually have them achieve a goal by the end of the challenge.
Okay. But more importantly, to see whether in fact they can appreciate working with you.
Right. Well, that comes along with it. If they do, then basically when I do my 5-day challenge, but I'm doing a group atmosphere, along the way, you're asking them to set up a one-on-one call with you. And it isn't I'd never do a sales call. It's not a sales call. I do some type of evaluation of their, let's say, their Facebook page or something like that. And, give them some pointers and that. And just, again, that's that contact, that one-on-one contact that they have in an experience with you. And I never mentioned anything about doing business with me or anything else during that time. It's just all about the experience. And throughout the week, you have little sales points. You're always selling, but you're selling in a nonchalant way that they don't feel like you're selling to them. And, you're just bringing out things, that puts a question in their mind, thinking that yeah, maybe this is somebody I want to work with, you know? And
Let me go back to David then. First of
yeah,
all,
but
sorry, Bill, go on.
no problem.
Beg your pardon. First of all, there were 4 parts that and you are saying this is answering Scott's problem about the agenda, right? That's what you're saying. The first part is regarding a testimonial. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the second one, I just want to check them out. The second one is
Second ask is for a referral. So trying to build a business, you want to get more people you can talk to.
third.
Is it okay if I talk to you about how it would be to work with me on a paid basis? Basically a sales offer.
Can I ask you a question, Dave?
Sure.
Do you do how do you bring them into the challenge in the first place? Do you set up a call? You talk to them first
Yes.
before that? Okay.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways. I network and I make an offer of the free coaching in the networking meetings.
Mhm.
And the second way is to connect with people online and to what's called chat sequence them. So you have an online chat conversation with them, which may result in a call and an invitation to attend the challenge.
Do you ever give them like a questionnaire or anything like that?
No, I don't actually, but I'm thinking of, from my experience, because I'm just really starting out here with my coaching business, that I do need to have a call to pre-frame, because what I found is that people will come up for the first session of the challenge, and then some of them aren't exactly my fit.
Right.
And the learning I've got from that is that I need to be more selective and have a process for being selective.
Right. Well, that's
And
what
that I
the
think would be a
questionnaire would
question.
be good.
Yeah, there would be a questionnaire, I think, or at least, as I think you perhaps indicated, a one-on-one call.
David, bear with me then. Testimonials, referrals,
And offer.
sales offer, right? A sales
Yeah.
offer. What else? Anything else?
Just clarify your question. You said that you thought there were 4 components,
I
but
thought there were 4 components you mentioned.
no, basically the three.
Three.
The three.
Okay, there's 3.
In terms of building the business, it's one, a testimonial, and I like to try and get that in a video format. Second, referrals, so that they're new people to talk to, and third, offer.
May I
Okay.
ask a question, Peter or David?
You on?
Yeah.
Okay, David, Bill just asked you if you had a questionnaire. Do you have even a sales page, a page somewhere online that people can go to identify themselves as yes, that's me. That challenge would be perfect for me. In other words, you're saying who this challenge is for and who it's not for, so they can eliminate themselves even before signing up for the challenge. Or they'll know exactly who it's for.
No, I don't. The short answer, I don't have a website or a sales page.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that in a one-on-one conversation is great if you have the time to do as many one-on-one conversations as you might need to have people in the challenge. But if you had somewhere that you can put something so people can see, this is me, I qualify for this, I want more of this, or no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So then, and I think that eliminates some of the, I don't want to say time wasting, but you mentioned that you discovered that these people are not really your people, the people that you want to work with, but you're finding that further down the road. Whereas if you had somewhere that stated clearly who it's for and who it's not for, then it might eliminate to some extent some of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Yvonne.
David, my question is this. Conceptually, you were saying let's put everything on the table so there's no hidden agenda, whatever it may be, correct? Right?
Yeah, basically you want them to focus on the content of the challenge, not be thinking about what's coming up, or so by putting everything on the table, you kind of get it, okay, that's coming, but I can now focus on what I need to be focusing on for my benefit here.
Well, then I don't have an issue with that if it's framed the right way, okay? If you say to them, will you give me a testimonial? Or can you give me 2 or 3 referrals? Or this is the sales offer I want to make to you. If you do it like that, then people will reject you. And that's the reason why you haven't had any sales.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you is this. If you've had a discussion with them, you've had some sort of, for want of a better word, some sort of relationship established of some sort, right? Then you would say, and you're running a challenge. What you would say is, in this challenge, I would like to be in a situation where you can learn and you get to experience and work with me. And if you feel comfortable, right? If you feel comfortable in working with me, then I would really appreciate the opportunity at the end of the challenge of you considering giving me a testimonial. Okay? You don't ask them, will you do that? You just put that on the table. You are not saying, will you give me something? Because how in the hell can they give you a testimonial when they don't even know who you are? They can't do that.
So Peter, if I could just clarify, I make a statement along those lines in the first session.
Tell me what you say.
Okay. I would say it along these lines, or I do say it along these lines. Thank you for coming into the challenge. I'd just like to let you know the process here, and I go through the process that we'll follow. I won't repeat that here now for time.
No need.
And I will say to them, at the end of the challenge, would it be okay if you have enjoyed working with me and you've achieved some results? Would it be okay if I was to ask you for a testimonial?
Perfect.
And if you feel that you're not able to give me a testimonial because I haven't met your expectations, I would really appreciate some honest feedback from you, because I want to get better at doing these things.
Well, then, David, that's perfect. I wouldn't
Okay.
change that at all.
Okay. And so then I do ask that, then I would say in the last session, to the coachee, now, thank you very much. May I ask how you found this experience? And I'll get their response as to whether it's good or whether, whatever it is. And on the basis of that, I'll say, well, thank you for that. Tell me more. And then I'll say, well, because you're telling me it has been a positive experience for you, you may recall that in our first session, I asked if you would be so kind as to give me a testimonial. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, I would say, would you still? This is the wording I would use. Would you be open to giving?
Okay. Yep.
Would you be open to giving me a testimonial based on the experience we've had in working together? All right.
Okay, great. Thanks.
The reason I'm saying that is because most sales are lost at the beginning, not at the end.
Yeah.
Many people think they lost their sale because when it came to the crunch, right, they didn't get the sales pitch right or whatever it may be. No, it's lost right at the beginning because it's the impression and the interpretation and the feelings that you give to people right up front. All right. What you said about testimonials, David, I wouldn't change a word of that. That was absolutely perfect.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. But the next bit, asking for referrals, okay, that is something I would not put. I would not put that up front at all. I would simply say to them, in terms of pre-framing, that I'm looking forward to the opportunity, right, of sharing with you some insights and some ideas that you may not have thought before, right? That's what you should be doing, right, in this challenge. And I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences, my expertise with you. But if you are then going to say, if I do a good job, could you give me some referrals? That is pretty pushy. That is pretty pushy. I would do the referrals after they became a client.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, because as otherwise you're really putting them under pressure right up front.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
what you mean by after they become a client is when they actually pay for a service.
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to give a referral if you didn't satisfy their needs.
Yeah, and that resolves an issue that one of the people said to me. Look, I kind of feel I have to say that if I'm going to give you a referral, that you provided the services to me for free. Now, if I ask for the referral when they're actually a client, they've paid. It takes that off the table. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Then the next thing you mentioned is how about working with you? How do you actually, what words do you say? Can you recall the words you say when you bring that up in terms of putting everything up front?
Okay, so I think you're okay with the way that I pre-framed that, or do you need me to go back to that first session?
No, I'm happy with the pre-framing for the testimonials. That's perfect. I'm happy with the fact that you accept the fact that referrals should be after they become a client because they're a paid client. They're not a free client.
Yeah, yeah.
And it also, you get the chance to talk with them and they get the chance to appreciate more the results you're getting them. And when you're getting results for them, it's very simple to say, to them, David, I really enjoy working with you, but something's come to mind, and that is, in my business, I like to work with people like you. All right. And I've enjoyed and I'm proud of the progress that you've made. Does anyone come to mind who is like you, who could perhaps work and use my services? That's after you've been working with them.
Yeah. Okay.
But now the key bit is this. What is it like to work with you in the sales software? How do you word that?
So yeah, so in the first session, I would now, based on your advice, talk about asking for permission to ask for them to provide a testimonial. I wouldn't ask or pre-frame the idea that I would ask for a referral later. And then if I was to retain the pre-frame about making an offer, then I would say that, let me just pause here. If the experience working with me has been good for you, would it be okay if at the end I talk to you about how it would be to work with me on a paid basis going forward?
That is you pushing them. Why don't you instead say, if my role with you is to get you to find and uncover the truth of what is really holding you back in your business right now. right? That's really what it is. Most people have a problem. It is they either don't have enough people to talk to, or the people they're talking to are the wrong sort of people, or they're talking to them using conversations that do not convert them into potential clients. All right. So in the pre-framing, I would say to them this: it's like a doctor-patient relationship. That's what it amounts to. I would like to diagnose what your major issues are, okay, with your permission. So let's take a few steps back and then share with me your journey, okay, that you've been on up until now, which I've mentioned this to before to you, right? Share the journey you've been on up until now. And what are the major challenges that you're facing, right now? Because the focus is not to sell your sales offer. Your focus is to get to the truth of what their problem is.
I'm just writing that down, Peter.
Okay. Well, it's recorded anyway. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
My God, I hope it is recording.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Now, based on Yvonne and Billy's question to me, I'm just wondering whether it's better for me to do that in a one-on-one conversation before the actual challenge. What I'm thinking, Peter, is if I ask that question and do the diagnosis in that one-on-one conversation, or perhaps with a questionnaire, and then from that suggest that there may be something I can work with them on over 5 sessions that would help them address that particular issue.
Okay. Bill's comment about a questionnaire. I'm not sure, Bill, about that. People don't like, that's too hard. You got to keep it easy for them, right?
So you're suggesting a one-on-one conversation?
I'm suggesting a one-on-one conversation with them, right?
Mm.
And that one-on-one conversation is basically about you getting to the truth of what their real issue is.
Or to the extent that you can discover that in that one-on-one conversation. I think, as you said, they may not even know.
Right, but it may take 2 sessions. It doesn't matter. The key point is that you just don't want them in a challenge. You want them to become a client, right?
Okay.
Correct?
So yeah. Does that mean that I shouldn't be running challenges, or?
No. You can reposition it. You can run the challenge without doing any of this, but invite them to join with you, right? Invite them to join with you at the end of the challenge, so you can talk to them on a more personal basis about what issues they would like to hear more about, and to share some more insights and ideas with them that could help them grow their business even more. Would you be interested? Would you be open in that to do that? If so, this is a free complimentary offer to you.
So Peter, could David do that in it's a 5-day challenge, say day 2, he mentions that? Because and here's what I'm thinking. Well, I'm asking, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had your hand up, Bill. I apologize.
It's okay.
What I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to follow the line of reasoning, and it just sounds to me like but can I ask David, about how many people would you ideally like to have in your challenge?
1.
How many?
1.
1?
Yeah.
It's one-on-one.
Just-
So as I said, I'm sorry I wasn't clear at the beginning. People have been running challenges, and usually that's on a group basis. you invite a number of people in. But we all know that if you only get about 10% show up rate in a group for people who accept. The one-on-one challenge, the so-called tiny challenge, overcomes that because because you then schedule the time, obviously to suit your calendar, but you can schedule it to suit the other person's calendar. So it overcomes the first objection is that this isn't a convenient time for me.
Okay.
You also find out very quickly if the person is sufficiently accountable to turn up. Because if they don't turn up, then it's not the person you want to work with. So, yeah, I think based on some of the comments Peter's been making, he was perhaps also thinking it was a group.
Okay, we'll put it this way, even if it's one-on-one, and I understand where you're coming from, and thank you for clarifying, David. Even then, you should, when you're talking about pre-framing, if you are saying to people, one of the things that I would like to share with you, if it's appropriate and if it's acceptable and you're open to it, would be the way that you could work with me to overcome this problem. That's basically what you're saying, correct? That's your sales offer.
Yeah, it's slightly different to what I was thinking of saying or have been saying.
So what have you been saying?
So it's a more general thing. It's really saying, if it's okay, I'd like to talk to you about what it would be like to work with me on an ongoing basis. So it's not referencing their specific problem, and I think that's a key point I'm picking up from you. But by doing the clarification, the what shall we call it, the call before to identify the issue, you can then relate whether or not you can help them with that service and ask them if it's okay if you talk about how that would be.
Fine.
So
okay.
you bring it back to them, essentially. You bring it back to their issue.
Yes. If you do that, David, then you pre-framed it perfectly.
Okay.
Okay, because the key issue is you're keeping the ball in their court. You are actually making them the center of attention, not your sales solution.
Yeah. Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Because your sales solution should come when they get to the point in the conversation and you've dug deep with them, okay, and you're doing this one-on-one, so it's perfect for this, right? And you simply say to them, okay, let me get this right, David. Your key issue is X, Y, and Z, and it's causing A, B, C problems. Am I correct? Did I understand you correctly? Because people want to be understood and listened to, right? Am I correct in this? If this is the case, where would you like to go from here? Do not say, I can solve that for you. Where would you like to go from here? Or what happens now? And what you want them to do is you want them to reach out to you. Can you help me, David? Right? And you will get them to do that if you really have got them to a point where they, for the first time in their life, maybe, they have uncovered what the reality of their problem is. And I'm telling you, you may not do it in one session, you do it in two, but this is all one-on-one anyway, right? So it doesn't matter. I mean, put it this way. What's the value of a client to you, David?
Lifetime value or initial value? Initial value would be about 5,000 Aussie dollars.
Right. Wouldn't it be worth an extra 40 minutes to spend in order to get to the thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Well, all I'm saying is, if you're putting free coaching and testimonies and referrals and how to work with me up front, you are pushing against them.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. You have to get them to come with you but don't you pull them forward. You keep pushing them back. Tell me more. Tell me more. Okay? The more you push them back in terms of not trying to sell them anything, the more they will want you to help them. That
Right.
is human psychology. Okay?
Okay.
It's not black magic. It's nothing to do with that at all. It simply means I feel comfortable with David because he has not pushed me to buy anything. He has simply helped me understand my problem.
Great, thanks. Bill's
And-
got his hand up. So
But
Yeah.
before we get to Bill, does that make sense, David?
it does, yeah. Thanks, Peter.
Because if they reach out to you and say, well, what do you do, Bill? Or how can you help me, Bill? Then we've got a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
once you, okay, Bill, over to you.
Okay, basically, Dave, I'm just wondering, you're doing a challenge and you're not particularly training them any particular thing each for everybody. You're doing whatever they feel they need help in.
Yep.
Okay. See, I don't really call that a challenge per se, but okay. Do they have an outcome at the end?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
In fact,
So
I use the word
this-
challenge because it's, I think, the most common word that's being used for this type of results in advanced marketing experience. My actual word for that is a quest.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason I use quest is that it's really designed. What I aim to do in the first session, and now Peter's suggesting it may take, in fact, 2 sessions. Identify what issue it is that's holding them back, and then work with them to make a difference with that issue.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and
But
my
when you're
point,
doing one-on-one, then it becomes more that. If you're doing a group, then it's a broad
Yeah. Yeah.
number
think
of
if you're
things
doing
that
a group, you need
everybody
to have
everybody
content.
has their own challenges that you're
That's it. Yeah.
taking on board, and you're trying to fulfill all those needs at the
Okay,
same
but-
time. But by doing that, that's why I have a predetermined outcome at the end of my challenge. I already tell them what the outcome is going to be before they even start.
Yeah.
Okay.
let me,
And
let
that's
me
what attracts them
rephrase
in,
that.
because they want to
the
get
reason they're there is because they want that outcome.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me reposition something. The challenge is purely the vehicle.
Right.
That's all it is, right? It's the vehicle of getting people to understand and appreciate what it's like working with you, David. All right. And what I'm
Yeah.
suggesting you do is you never present your solution. You wait for them to ask for help. Okay?
Yeah. Never present the offer.
Never present the offer.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
will ask you sooner or later. They will ask you because they feel, because you are uncovering issues for them and they are becoming more comfortable in sharing the uncomfortable with you. And sooner or later, they're going to say, what do I do? Okay. So you first never present your solution. Wait for them to ask for help for you. It's a completely different ball game. Define the problem and ask them, is it a priority to solve once and for all for you, or are you just willing to live with it, right?
Right. Thanks.
And that is not a closing question. That is a question as to whether they are prepared to take ownership of their problem.
Yeah.
If they don't take ownership of their problem, David, they're going to blame everybody else. It's the economy. It's it's COVID. It's the war in Ukraine. It's my mother-in-law. Whatever it is, right? They've got to own the problem. If they own the damn problem, then there's a much better chance of them wanting to fix it. And I think that's the bit that's been missing in your conversation.
Thank you. I've got a supplementary question, Peter,
Sure.
if it's okay to ask. When you were reflecting back what you understood the purpose of the challenge was, you used various words. I wrote one or two of them down. I thought I did. But none of those words were trust. You didn't. Now, so the supplementary question is a challenge, or is a quest, as I call it, an appropriate vehicle to build trust with somebody?
Yes.
Good.
If
Okay.
you don't
Thank
have,
you.
yes, if you don't have any trust, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah. This idea of a results in advance marketing experience is a good way to build trust with people.
Yes, it is, provided it is positioned in a way within that is not forced upon them, that they
Yeah.
have to come to that decision themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's the way it's run, the way it's presented, what I say is key. As we said in the last session here, it's the words that count.
It is the words that count, and it's not just the words, it's the actual way that you say the words.
Yeah, and yeah, the
and
non-verbals as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the non-verbals are critical. And as I mentioned before, one of the biggest things you can do is silence and pausing. Let me bring you in here, John. What are your thoughts on this?
He's
You're
on mute.
muted. You're muted.
Yeah, one of the big things about that, David, I'll pick on the insurance company for a minute. And the reason for it, it's the way you say it. But a guy was out to do a presentation to my wife and I. She was on one end of the table, I was on the other end. He was in the middle. He was asking us if we agreed with him. And he's going like this, looking at both of us. He's shaking his head no, but he's asking for a positive answer. And he never did figure it out. He's busy telling us no, right? So,
Yes, I could see that straight away. Thank you.
but that's one of the things, like, and when Peter's saying it's your tonality and everything else, like Peter's been picking on me because years ago I was a cop, and some of the times when I start asking questions, it's more like an interrogation than that deal. But again, that turns people off, right? Because you're not there to interrogate anybody. I'm not a cop anymore. So you got to watch your tonality, your body language. If I said to you, okay, David, you got to take part in this challenge, like, it's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's screw you, pal. But if I said,
Don't
hey,
tell me
David,
what to do.
yeah, you may really want to take part in this challenge. It could really help you, and blah, 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 right? Said the same thing, but it's entirely different.
Yeah.
Peter's also used the analogy, and so do I. You got to be a doctor. The doctors don't do coffee, but what they do is they go in to find out what's really wrong, right? They ask questions to get to the real problem. Peter's example last week of I got a sore shoulder. The doc, if he's any good, doesn't just pull out his script pad and say, here's the script, go get some.
Yeah.
He takes time to dig out what the real problem is. The shoulder's likely a symptom of something else.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at somebody, like even for your challenge, what is the underlying problem that they're going to solve? Now you've got an entirely different thing you're working on. Like Bill might say, well, it's this deal. But when you get down to it, it might be something entirely different.
Yeah.
So it's dig out the real reason.
Okay, the other thing is this, and the word that's missing is humble. The key to building trust is to be humble. right? The key to building trust is to be transparent. The key to building trust is not only be transparent, but also vulnerable. This takes some intestinal fortitude to do this, but we've all made mistakes, all of us, right? And you need to share the mistakes that you've made with people to help them open up and say, this person gets me. This person understands me. He has been where I have been. Can you see what I'm getting at, David?
Totally agree, Peter.
So the number one goal is not to promote your product or your brand or your offer or your solution. It's not that. Your number one goal is to focus on and understand the problem that your client is trying to solve. Okay?
Yep.
That's what it is. And if you have that mindset, then you don't need scripting. You're going to simply be talking to people to get them to open up to you in a way that they probably never opened up before. And once you get them to what you believe to be the point where this is the real truth, right? You're not going for the sale, you're going for the truth. That's what you're doing, right? And when you get to the truth, right, that's when you say to them along the lines of, where would you like to go from here, David? Because now that's the service you've done. And it's an extremely valuable service, because most people will say, this is what they'll say. Tell me, David, what's your biggest problem? Well, my biggest problem is I'm just not getting enough leads. I can show you how to fix that. Look, I've got a really good software solution, does X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And immediately they're on the defensive, right? The issue is getting enough leads may not be their problem at all. That's what John was alluding to. Okay, dig deep, find out what the real problem is. And the more you do that, the more likely they are to come to you and say, can you help me?
Yep.
May I add something here, Peter?
Sure.
One thing to always remember, people don't buy when they understand you. They buy when they feel understood.
Wow.
So you can have people feel understood, that you understand them. Now they want to do business with you. It's like the example Peter used before, like, I got this problem, and it's likely a surface one. You go off on a great tangent. As David, thanks very much for the great information. Call me in a couple of weeks. Or I'll get back to you, or I got to talk to my mother, my father, my dead cat, my dog, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. The chasing game is on and you lose. Get to the real problem.
Which raises another very interesting point, because for many people, and we had Tom here last week who apologized he can't be here today, right? And Tom's objective is to make 50 sales a day, 50 calls a day or whatever it is to get customers. And to me, I'm saying to you, David, especially in your situation and to all of us, right? Sales is not a numbers game. We are in the people business, right? It's not about how many contacts you make, but how deep you can go in each conversation with the person you're talking to. That's what it's all about. The sale is lost at the beginning of the process, not at the end. If you simply try to sell them something up front, you've lost the sale right from the word go. So to go right back to the beginning, when you are pre-framing people and you are trying to do the right thing with an integrity point of view, saying, in this challenge, I'll be looking at the opportunity of testimonials, maybe referrals you'll feel comfortable in giving me, and also what it's like to work with me. All I'm saying to you is slow that down. Slow that down. All right.
There's a time and a place for everything.
There is a time and a place for everything, and let them decide. Don't you push it down their neck.
This has been extremely valuable, and I just want to thank you, Peter. I know that the time's probably nearly up, And I want to thank everybody else on the call for, allowing me to sort of dominate the conversation.
Well, that'll happen every time. Someone's going to dominate, and I'm glad it was you.
Thank you for letting me be in the hot seat. Appreciate everybody.
Any
I
questions?
apologize. My generator went down, and that's why I was gone.
Okay. Any final questions before we call it quits? Because I'm aware of the time. No, Scott, did you get something out of this?
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. That was interesting with David and the one-to-one challenge, because I'm
Yeah.
doing challenges too, and it takes time to advertise it from my point of view. And yeah, you're right. I'm looking for a group challenge, and you are right. About 10% do turn up.
Right. 10% turn up, but also don't push your solution. Get to understand what they really need. That's my point.
Yeah, no, challenges are just attention.
A challenge is and I'll say it for the last time, a challenge is a way for them to experience what it's like working with you. Not necessarily as a paid customer, but to see, do they resonate with you? If people resonate with you, then they respect you. If they respect you, then they'll follow your advice. All right. If you're on a challenge and it's a 5-day challenge, and Bill's running a 5-day challenge, of course, every day he will be referring to, I'd like the opportunity to speak with you on a one-on-one basis so we can go to a deeper level and share some more insights with you. Here is my booking link. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with saying that, all right? And because the purpose of the challenge is not to be a good guy, the purpose of the challenge is in fact to get a customer. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you found some value in that, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks from now. And I'm glad no one had a problem getting on board with the password.
Work. No problem. Thank you.
By the
See
way,
you
Bye,
guys.
one last
everyone.
thing.
Have a good
Bye,
evening.
everybody. Have
Thank
a
you,
great-
Peter.
One
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
one
Yvonne.
last thing.
Thank you,
One
Dr.
last
Scott.
guys.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Bill.
Great. Good to see you
Thanks,
guys.
Peter.
One last thing. Look in the group. I put some things in there that you might find helpful. One in particular was about a podcast. Podcasts are the flavor of the month, all right? And John and a few other people have been involved with a lot of podcasts, Yvonne as well. And to me, one of the key issues is how can you become a guest on a podcast? And I put there for you a suggested template email that you can send out that has actually worked to get yourself on a podcast. So have a look at it when you get the chance.
Okay.
Peter, can I
thank
just
you,
ask,
everyone?
where do I find that? You said a group? Is
Yeah,
it
it's in our compelling conversations group.
Okay, mate. Thanks very much. I'll
There
go
right
there.
now. I put it there yesterday.
All right. Cheers.
And we've just got Christine Best joining us, and we're about to say goodbye and hello. So, Christine, are
Hello,
you there?
Christine. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
See you.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I hope you found it helpful. See you in 2 weeks from now.
See you.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay.
All right.